Hello, Bandekuna Biso. Hey, my name is Brandy. Thank you for coming on my channel. First of all, thank you so much for the 52 subscribers. I'm so grateful. So grateful. Let me get straight to the point. I want to talk about narcissism or narcissistic personality disorder. One thing I have a major problem with, and I want you guys to engage with me and let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me, but one of the things I have a huge problem with is people using social media as their god, as their therapists, as their um, doctors. You know, they take people's words as gospel, and there's people out here. So there's people out here pretending to be professionals or something that they only have a limited amount of knowledge on. People that are basically regurgitating subjects from other content creators and making it gospel. In this particular subject with narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder, it's a word that is being branded around so much that it's actually crazy that anytime a man acts a certain way, they've been branded as or labeled as narcissistic. And whereas on many occasions this may be true, there's a lot of occasions that that's not the fact, however. And it's important that I highlight that because one of the main reasons why I really wanted to highlight that is because not too long ago I was branded a narcissist by somebody that I cared deeply about. In fact, I'm a person that I don't take a lot of things to heart, right? But the specific people that you openly give yourself to, at the risk that, love, like my definition of love is trusting your heart onto someone, entrusting your heart to someone, knowing that they can destroy it, but trusting that they won't, right? So I do that. I love deeply and I love openly. And I was branded a narcissist by somebody that I cared deeply about, so it affected me. I took it. So I'm having to stop, start because my memory is low. But so yeah, I took it seriously because I'm a person I love self-improvement. I love to analyze myself. I love to, to grow. That inner engineering is really important for me because I believe men have to be examples of our families, not only of our families, but our communities as well, and society at large. Anyway, so I was fortunate enough that I have so many great elders around me. I work with therapists, psychologists, again, because I love to improve myself, but primarily because I have this injury. And through this injury that I've sustained back in August of 2024, I was working with a psychologist and a therapist, EMDR therapist, because I was suffering from a lot of PTSD as a result of the injury. And we worked on the subject of narcissism. And we spoke about the subject of narcissism. And in a nutshell, with all the people that I spoke to, therapists that I spent many sessions with, some of my elders, some people that knew me, but I wanted people that could be objective, or subjective. I always get it too twisted. But I knew people. I wanted to speak to people that would give me impartial opinions, and people that would be honest with me. And in a nutshell, I just have too much awareness. I have too much awareness, self-awareness, and I have too much compassion. And one of the therapists actually said, the fact that you live and ask me if I believe you're a narcissist means that you cannot be, because a narcissist would never admit that. A true narcissist would never admit that. Somebody suffering from, people that are actually suffering from narcissistic personality disorder is a real thing. It's a real disorder that people suffer from that I had no idea about. I mean, I'd heard, I'm sure like many of you, the word or the term narcissist or narcissistic and whatever, but the actual disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is something I knew nothing about. So I researched deeply, and I knew that Though I couldn't identify, I couldn't relate, and I'd spoken to a lot of people that helped me, I knew that it was beneficial for me to hear that, because it made me point out and identify narcissistic traits that I had that ruined many relationships that I had been in. Narcissistic traits that were as a result of learned behavior. I had certain traits, narcissistic traits, which I'm not afraid to speak openly about. I think it's a time where, as men, we have to grow and do better. There's a lot of things that's going on in our societies, in our communities, and nobody's really holding their hands up and saying, you know what, I have trauma that I need to deal with. And for me, like, I went through a phase of being angry, of being branded this term, especially once I found out what it actually meant and what this disorder does. For a lot of women that suffer, that are victims of narcissistic abuse, and men too. It happens both ways, but predominantly it's usually women suffering at the hands of narcissistic men. But it's common for both male and female, and it's not nice. It's almost like a death sentence to people. And according to experts, it's not something that you can actually get rid of. It's something that it's in you. You learn to manage it, which I tend not to believe that. I'm a person that the more I grow in my consciousness, the more I realize that we have a template that we start with. We have something that we start with that we have to go back to when we feel lost, and that's your soul. Your soul doesn't know any of this learned behavior or any kind of trauma that's passed on through DNA. So I believe through consciousness and proper inner engineering, you can rise above these challenges that people deem to be a death sentence. But anyway, for anybody that's in that situation, I feel for, and I would never justify that kind of behavior. But it's important to also know that a lot of men are being unfairly branded narcissistic, and we need to stop that. Because there's real victims out there that are going through this. It's not every time a man is overly masculine or displays a kind of unsavory masculine behavior that they become a narcissist overnight. This is a proper disorder that's ruining a lot of people's lives, and we need to differentiate the actual disorder from just somebody acting out of trauma. For myself, I can say that you can't act beyond your level of consciousness. And a lot of these times when I acted a certain way, it was never like overtly. It was always something that I knew, that I always felt like there was a distance between who I knew I was and then who I was displaying. I knew there was a difference. I couldn't do anything about it because I just wasn't aware. I felt the difference. I felt the gap, and it was just about closing that gap between who I thought I was and who I knew I was and who I was displaying. And it took a lot of time, and it's an ongoing journey to kind of eradicate totally all of those behaviors. But it's something that I'm glad to do, and I'm not afraid to admit that childhood trauma, has affected me a lot. It's colored my life, but in God we trust, man. In God we trust, and I fully surrender to the will of God, to now continuously work to eradicate any ills in my character that stops me from being the man that I know I am. And I love this journey. It hurts sometimes, it gets painful, it gets dark. You must go through it. You must get through it to get to it.